everybody. Welcome to Grow Ahead. This is episode number 6, which is awesome. So we're super excited. Today we are actually talking about something that I think everyone kind of deals with, and that is our self-image, like our body image and self-esteem. And it's a super important topic, not just for women, but for men and young people. And it starts at such an early age without any of us really knowing exactly how early it does start. So I'm actually really excited to talk about this today. I think it's really neat because we're coming from two different, you know, avenues in life. I am a mom. So I have given birth to 3 children. I have 5 kids, but have given birth to 3 kids. Your body changes when that happens, you know? So, kind of where I'm at versus, you know, Miss Steph over here, who is young and, you know, that thing like where you start to get to be my age and you miss the days of being, younger, and where things were kind of where they belong. So and it's really, really hard um to really appreciate certain things when obviously like you have your memories of what you were in the past and whatever. So I think it'll be great to kind of dive in on a couple of different, scenarios just with what we face personally, and then also kind of what we see in general in the world. So Steph, do you want to kind of tell your story a little bit, and then I can tell mine, and then from there we can go into just general topic?
Sure.
Awesome.
All right. Well, my journey was interesting with in terms of learning to love myself and diet and just how I looked and felt like I looked in general. And around, I want to say 13 years old was like when I started to kind of know more about dieting and what that would mean in terms of changes I wanted to see in my body. And I think going back to the toxic people episode, there were definitely people who impacted the way I saw myself, and their words and different things had an impact on me. Um, and so from that age, from 13 to I want to say 17, on and off, I had struggled with anorexia and bulimia. And so initially it just started out as okay, I'm a little chubby or whatever, and I'll just cut back on some of the stuff I'm eating and stuff. And so I started doing that, and it was okay at first and everything, and then it kind of just what was dieting had turned into restricting myself and not doing the things I should be doing, or putting some of those things in my body. And it was like a game of just numbers, number on the scale. It was number of calories, number of this. And I would just I would look at stuff, and I already knew how many calories were in a jar of pickles, or just random things, because I was just looking at it all the time and just obsessing over it. And so even at that point, I wasn't, you hear about people that are bulimic, or you hear about eating disorders, and you never think yeah, that's going to be me, or yeah, I'm going to do that one day. And I don't know, it just, the way things went, and from dieting to then restricting, had gone even further than that. And it went into, uh, after meals or after eating something, just um, like throwing it up or trying to throw it up. And it was just, it got to a point where it was just, it wasn't a place I wanted to be. And it was just mentally took a toll on me. And it obviously took a toll on my body. And it got to a point where after I was doing it for so long, I was taking a shower one day and I was washing my hair, and then and it wasn't like a strand of hair or anything like that. It was like a clump of hair was in, my hand from like the stress from, lying about it or trying to hide it, and just that my body wasn't getting the nutrients it needed. And so when all these things started happening, like my throat was hurting more and, all these physical things, that's when I really like took a look at myself and I'm like, this isn't the person you want to be.
Yeah, and that's hard. I think teenage years are super hard. Um, One of the biggest things I think in in life in general, but really in the topic of our own self-esteem and body image and whatever, is that one, we're constantly comparing ourselves to other people. And it's like, you know, of course you want what you don't have, right? Like you see somebody who looks cute in something and you're like, oh, I wish I could look cute in that or whatever. And you just want what you don't have. And I think especially when you're a teenager, that really weighs heavy on people. Not saying it doesn't when you're an adult, but I feel like it's a little bit easier, the older we get, to finally just be like, you know what? I don't care what other people think anymore. But when we're comparing ourselves to other people, we're doing it really because, right, we want people to, like, we have a set, I guess, like, image of what we want people to think of, like, of us when they think about us, like, you know we have like this idea in our head of, well, I want them to think, oh my goodness, she looks good, or whatever. And I think we lose sight of some of the really, really important things, like how we treat other people and all, the things that we're doing just in life in general to be a good person. And we put so much emphasis on the wrong kind of role models in society. Like, I mean, at least in the culture here, it definitely is. We're putting emphasis on, people who are getting surgeries done and Botox done, and have, you know, they spend 8 hours a day in a gym, and they have, people who can fix up pictures and whatever. Like, even those people, like, that we put on this pedestal or what, if we were to ever talk to them or get to know them or whatever, we would realize that they still have problems, even though we think they look good. And then that's the answer to all of life's problems. Like, if I just look good, everything would be so much better. If we were to go talk to them, we would realize that that's not the case, right? So it's really sad that we put that out there so that our young people, because it starts at such a young age. So this is a quick little story that is not about me, but so I only have boys, and when you're in that environment, not saying that boys don't have body image issues, because again, I have boys of all different, and they do, but I feel like it's definitely different in young girls. And when our kids were younger, one of my dear friends was having a birthday party for her daughter. And so it was like a group of like 9 or 10 year olds. I mean, young, like pre-middle school, young kids. And I took the kids and I went, and there was one girl there who, instead of having fun, like, you're at a birthday party, I think it was at a gymnastics place, and instead of like running around and having fun, and again, these were like little kids, this one girl was just going around to everybody at the birthday party, and she was like, your hair is stupid, your clothes are ugly, you're fat. Like, so finally, like, I was like, no, no, no. And I felt bad, like, that I overstepped or whatever, but somebody had to. So I told her, I was like, you're going to sit down right there. And until you can stop saying those kinds of things to people, you're not going to participate. As soon as you can be kind to those who are, I'm like, this isn't your party. Like, if that's how you want to treat people, do it on your own time. This is not, the time or the place for that. And I was like, you really need to think about like what you're saying to other people. And so I made her sit down. And finally she came up to me and she was like, okay, I'm ready to be nice. She's like, I want to participate. But like, she was taken aback, like, oh my goodness, no one's ever said that to me before, you know? And we need to say things when we see that. Cause it's like, you know, you don't need 9-year-old kids getting this in their head already, like, oh my goodness, my clothes are ugly, or I'm fat, or, you know, my hair is whatever. Um, because they're getting those messages without even knowing they're getting those messages already, you know, from commercials or TV shows or whatever. And um, yeah, it's a huge problem, and we definitely need, you know, to do something to kind of change the direction of where that's going, at least in my opinion, you know?
Yeah, I agree. And even with like just how we like listen to certain people that are around us. And like the saying goes, you know, you are who you surround yourself with. And, you know, if it's always negative people or people saying bad things about you or how you look, like those, you know, you should probably take a break from those people because they're not, you know, helping you in a good way.
Exactly. And I'm sure I sound like, you know, I'm super comfortable in my skin. It's a work in progress. You know, like, okay, so I got pregnant with my first kiddo when I was 20. When I was 20, I didn't even weigh 100 pounds. I am 5'5", maybe 5'4", right around there. I'm short and I was tiny. And that was just my genetic makeup. Like my mom was small for a really, really long time in life. Like, you know, I just had that tiny frame. And um, I remember my parents when I was younger, they would say, Nicole, like, you know, the way you eat is going to catch up to you someday. Cause I mean, like I was like, it's not doing anything to me. Like I'm good, you know, but I just remember in high school, I dated a young man who worked at A&W. And so of course, like, you know, I'd go hang out because I wanted to see him, you know? And so it was like, you know, if he was working or whatever, I'd go and that's where I would eat dinner at. But I wouldn't eat just one burger and fries. I'd eat two burgers and fries because I could and it didn't do anything. Well, you build these habits of how you eat. And then all of a sudden you wake up one day and you're like, holy crap, like they were right. You know, it did catch up with me someday. But um, so like I was small, and with my first son, you know, they suggest that you gain like 25 pounds when you're pregnant. I gained 25 pounds. It was all baby. Like I didn't gain weight anywhere else. And, you know, I was like, oh, this is fine. And then, you know, he's four, almost 5 years older than Jacob, my next kiddo. And you know, I kept saying like, "Oh, I have time to lose the weight. I have, you know, I'm not going to stress about it, whatever." And then I got pregnant again, and then I gained so much weight during my second pregnancy. And from there, it was like the older I got, the harder it got, you know, to lose weight or whatever. And then when my marriage didn't work out, and I was on my own with, you know, my three babies and whatever, like one, the stress of going through a divorce was horrible. And I am the first to admit I am an emotional eater. So that's like my eating disorder. So if I'm sad or scared or worried or whatever, like I feed it, you know. But then also from that, um, I'm Greek, and in that culture of my life, we show people we love you by cooking. Like we feed you, we take care of you, we like nurture, you know, whatever. And so it's like you come that with like this, you know, eating, you know, to fill the void of everything else, you know, or to comfort yourself. And it's not a good combo. So I had gained some weight. And then it just kind of hit me like, I don't know, maybe 6 months after I got separated, and I needed some sort of outlet to get rid of my stress. So I started running, and it's really the first time in my life I've ever like exercised that hard. I like became obsessed with it, and I would run for a minimum of an hour every single day. I would take my dog and I would run, and it gave me like an hour to turn on music, and it was like angry music, that would just like pump through me. And I would run, and then with that, I stopped eating. Like, so I noticed, like, I was making like notices of when my kids didn't finish their food, I didn't want it to go to waste, so I would eat my kids. So I stopped doing all of that. But then I took it to the far extreme, and all I ate was a 6-inch sub every day, and that was all I ate. And I became really skinny. So when Chad and I first started dating, I was, if I'm lucky, I was 120 pounds maybe. And I think I had gone back down to, I don't know, maybe a size 2. And but I was doing it in such an unhealthy way, and it was like I just felt so. I had gone on dates with other people before Chad and I had started dating, but I just felt like, oh, no one's gonna like me. I already have 3 kids, like I'm single, and I'm, fat. Like, who's gonna like me, whatever. And I put all this energy on what other people would think of me, and it became like this ugly obsession of mine. And uh, it was like it honestly was a breath of fresh air. I didn't really know that people like Chad existed. So obviously I was small when we started dating, but you know, when you're with someone who's good and treats you well and whatever, you start to let your guard down, right? And so like I just started living life again and like eating again. And because he'd be like, "Ah, you never eat anything," and um yeah, I started just enjoying life being around him. And of course then like weight starts coming back on, because now I went from practically starving myself, to now I'm actually eating. And but I really didn't know that there were people out there that would be supportive no matter what. Like he loves me no matter what I look like. It's not whether he didn't start dating me because I was a size 2. And I really, it's really sad, but I really didn't know that that truly existed in the world. Like, I mean, I think I always just wrote it off like, oh, they just say that, whatever. They don't mean that. And that has been really, really helpful to me. Now, again, like I said, I am still working on being comfortable with who I am. And I am working on trying to lose some weight, but now it's not about how the world thinks of me anymore. Like, I have definitely changed my mindset on that. I could care less what people think of me. Now it's about like, am I healthy? I just need to make sure I'm healthy. But I was saying, to you outside of this, like, I think people confuse skinny with healthy, and they're two very, very different things. There are people who are so skinny and completely not healthy, and you cannot confuse the two. But um, like learning to love yourself, like for who you are and in your own skin, is probably one of the hardest things I think anyone can really do, and it takes a lot of work. But it's so worth it. Like I feel the shifts happening, in me. And it's a lot of daily work. And you know, letting go of the power of other people, and taking that control yourself, and like letting go of the power of the scale is like unbelievable. So for the longest time I stopped weighing myself. I do weigh myself every couple weeks now, but we're in a family challenge right now, just trying to like help motivate each other. And so we are keeping track. But even when that time comes up, I'm like, oh, I'm like, I don't even want to step on it because I hate letting it have that kind of power in my life. Like it's not about what number is on the scale, it's about how I feel. And it really truly is like such an everyday process, like trying to like talk yourself up and say like the nice things. And I was actually talking to somebody the other day, and I was like, look, if you're in a relationship, right? And someone's, belittling you and being mean to you and whatever, I'm like, are you going to stay in that relationship? And they were like, no. Like, and I'm like, why are you doing it to yourself then? Like, why are we allowed to do that to ourselves? Like, if you wouldn't say that to somebody else or you wouldn't tolerate someone else saying that to you, why are you allowed to do it to yourself? Like, and I think that is the most important thing, is learning how to do that self-talk in a way that isn't like, why would you tolerate it from your own self? You know what I mean?
It's funny you brought that up because I was just talking to somebody about that, like, because we were talking about, how to build your self-esteem or how to feel better about yourself. And they're like, well, I don't know, how to stand up for myself or stuff like that. Or, how do I know if I really love myself or respect myself? And and I kind of just use the example of like, okay, if somebody's saying something that's not true about you or something that's out of character for you, like why would you step in and say something and say like or get mad over it? And they're like, because that's not true or that's not me. And I'm like, well, the same thing with like seeing yourself. You have that respect for yourself, and sometimes different situations and things can make you feel like you don't, or you don't know how to handle those situations, and it comes off that way. But like at the end of the day, like you always have to stick up for yourself.
Exactly. And even if it's to you, like,
Right.
yeah, exactly. And I've said it probably in every single one of our podcasts. So, because I'm so proud of you, but you seriously have transformed yourself in uh, what might seem like a lifetime to you, but to the rest of us looking, I mean, in really a relatively short amount of time, you have transformed yourself, and you weren't even necessarily like, that wasn't really your end goal. It was like you just wanted to start making healthier choices, and that was the result. And you truly are an inspiration in that, like it helps other people know, like, yes, it is possible. Like, I just have to, you know commit to like choosing me, right? And yeah, you seriously, like, I'm so proud of you, because you've done it so gracefully. And you like, I'm sure you've had bad days, and I'm sure you've had moments where you're like, screw it. I'm not doing it right now, or whatever. But at the same time, like, overall, you are picking your health, and um, you're still upbeat, and you're still motivating others, and you're still positive. And I never see you make posts like, today this, blah 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 happened. It's always like amazingly upbeat, like, and super positive, and I just absolutely love that about you. So if you have any tips to share, or something that maybe helped you like really stick with it, or anything like that, definitely, share them with the rest of the world, because we need that.
Thank you. You're always mentioning things I do and like, so proud of me and like happy for me, and that makes me happy. And, knowing that like, hey, like somebody supports you and is happy for you. So that's always nice.
Y- you know I really wish we could get people to understand. So, like, okay, there are two types of people in the world, and I think there's a lot of people who think, if I have a good self-image or high self-esteem, or if I'm confident, then I'm cocky and people aren't going to like me because I'm mean or I'm self-absorbed or whatever. That is so not the case. Like, you can love you, but the difference lies in loving yourself and loving other people, or loving yourself and feeling like you're better than everybody else. And the loving yourself and feeling like you're better than everybody else is narcissistic behavior. Like, no one, don't do that. But you definitely can love yourself and feel good and like, okay, so I'm sure there are young people who watch this and this might be slightly inappropriate, but okay, so warning, inappropriate content coming up. But as adult women, where do we most feel uncomfortable in our own skin? The bedroom, right? As soon as those clothes come off, we're like, oh man, right? And it is important to be able to, like, in those moments, just own them. And, like, our bodies were made to make other humans. And, and with age, things go in weird places and they aren't tight and perky and whatever anymore. And we have to stop comparing ourselves to our young self that might have had that, or whatever. Like, yeah, those are great memories. Maybe they're not great memories, but they're in the past and we have to learn to embrace today and, like, start learning to love yourself even in that moment, because when you're confident there, I mean, your your relationship could be, way better than what it is, and depending on obviously the dynamics. But when we don't have that confidence, like, that rolls over into everything we do. And like, I don't know, just learning to love yourself there. But when you love yourself, you don't have to be not cheering for other people. Like, you know, never in a million years would I ever be like, "Ah, man, she lost weight and I didn't, and I'm really jealous." Like, I truly, when I say I'm proud of you, I'm so proud of you. Like, I really, really am. So I want people to learn the difference between narcissistic behavior and true self-love and self-esteem and confidence and whatever. And they're two very, very different things. So as long as we are treating others with the same respect that we would want, or, the same kind of love, or cheering them on, or being supportive, or, you know, putting those kinds of vibes out into the world, then being confident isn't a bad thing. Loving yourself is not a bad thing. So, um, yeah, we just have to really separate the two of them out. Like, um, I don't know. I just it breaks my heart when I feel like people think, I can't do that because that would be harmful to other people, and it's not. When you love yourself, you have the ability to give more love to other people. Like, I might have mentioned, I talk about it all the time, so I'm sure I've mentioned it before, but it's not someone else's job to fill up your own bucket of, like, whatever. You have to fill it up, and you can't give to other people if your bucket's always empty. Like, eventually you're going to run out and you're going to be exhausted and you're going to be drained and just, spread too thin and whatever. And so loving yourself fills that up. And then you're more available to your partner or your children or your friends or your family. And that's important in life, because, those are the people that we need.
And I'm really happy that you brought up, being cocky or feeling like, well, I don't want to be that way. And I honestly, like, I thought the same thing, like, how many years ago? And, like, not taking credit or accountability for the good things I was doing either, though. So it almost just, like, got worse because it was, great, like, you don't want to come off this way, but, like, now it just shows, like, it looks like you don't, like, take credit for anything you do, and, like, just like negative. So I had to fix that and like, be proud of the things I did and start to learn to like own certain skills or things, traits I have as a person that, help me or I excel at. And, instead of worrying about all the negative stuff or like what this person might think or stuff like that, it was just like, okay, well, what makes me happy? Like, who around me makes me happy? And what are the things I want out of this? And once you start to like put your mind into that, you don't even think about, who's doing this or, oh my God, are these jeans okay? Or, like just because it's just like a waste of time to you at that point. It's why not spend it, loving yourself or doing something good for yourself.
Absolutely. And I think it's really funny. So, um, like, obviously, we all wear clothes that we feel good in, right? Because if something's too tight or cut weird or whatever, then we like easily focus on the area where, we're like, oh man, that those jeans create a muffin top that makes me look way worse, right? So obviously we pick clothes that we feel good in. And then from there, I think like the next step is like, well, I want to look good so that I can get the attention of other people. And attention isn't bad. It's just we have to make sure that we're not doing it in a way where like where we're doing it like where we feel like we're entitled to all the attention and where we need constant, validation of people like or like I'll call it excessive admiration, like if it gets to that point, that's unhealthy. Like you don't need someone to constantly tell you you're beautiful or, you know, it- I picture so Chad used to bartend, and I just picture that environment, right? And um, I am definitely not the less is more sort of person. Like, I think if you're like very, very skimpy, scantily clad kind of outfits or whatever, like I think it actually draws from your true beauty if you're a beautiful person. Like, it's way easier for me to see like another woman. Like, I think it's funny that people I think women are beautiful, right? And I think it's funny when people are like, "Oh my goodness, what is wrong with you?" But when I see an attractive lady who, say, is wearing jeans that I love and a sweater, that is far more attractive to me than someone where you can see tons of cleavage and is wearing a mini skirt. So I wish women could kind of wrap their head around that, like that's not what makes something attractive. Like attractive is so many different things. Like I tell my kid all the time, smart is the new sexy. Like be smart, be able to have a conversation, have some humor, like, do all of those things. But you're going to get old and you're going to get wrinkly and you might gain some weight and things are going to not be the same. But you're always going to have your sense of humor and your smarts and whatever. Like if you put everything into the basket of like how you physically look, you're going to set yourself up for failure later, and um, I j I just want to get that message out there, like, there really are men of substance out there or, whoever you want. There are people of substance that you want to date, and it could be anybody, and those people of substance don't always care that you're half naked, whether you're a man or a woman or whatever, it doesn't matter. It's about what you possess as a person, and, um, I get that we all need that like initial like attraction, right? Because I mean, if you're not attracted to somebody, you're not really gonna just take time to talk to them to get to know their personality. So you need some of that spark, but it shouldn't be the only thing that is important to you. So just focus on that. Like, who am I as a person? What am I bringing to the world? Like, you know what values do I have? like morals am I living by? We talk about in our house all the time that it's important to live by a code. Like that's way more important to have. And you know, you can still do the things that make you feel physically attractive. But I think you'll feel so much better when you're not putting all of life's importance on what size pants you wear.
And it's funny you say that, like, about, just different people online and all that, just because there's people I've seen even, like, older than yourself, and they're, like, squeezing together, like, and, like, taking pictures of that. And it's like, all right.
Right.
And I'm not like, trying to crap on anyone's parade here or anything, or like, don't be proud of yourself, but like, I don't know when it's always like that. And it's always like the focus is on what you look like and like, certain parts, or it also just like to me sends like the wrong message, because then it's like, like that's like if somebody comes across your page and that's all the pictures are, I mean, that's then they're kind of going to think that that's, there's something else more going on or that you're looking for. And so certain people then come into your life too that aren't good for you based on like what you're putting out there too. So like you said, some people truly look for, the kind of person you are and not just the way you look. But then there's the other side of the spectrum where there's, people who only want you for your looks, and you don't want those kind of people.
Right. Because the thing is that we all have to admit, like, no matter what, time is going to change how we look. And yeah, there's surgeries out there and there's whatever, but first, that's not for me. But there's only so many you can do. So even if you are doing these things, like breast enhancements or whatever, tummy tucks, whatever, there really is so many that you can do. And it it's don't you want a relationship that has like more value to, because that like if someone's dating you strictly on how you look, it's going to end eventually, like because someone's going to come along that looks better than you, or someone's going to come along that has something that you don't. And um I just don't see like any longevity in those kinds of relationships at all. I mean, you know eventually it's going to get old and boring and whatever. And like I feel like so many people are always like chasing something, like, well, I'm not happy now and I'll just be so much happier when I lose 50 pounds. No, you won't. You're still going to have the same things. Like, if you're not happy with you and not loving on you, life is still going to be the same. You're just going to be experiencing it in a slightly smaller body. Like, you know, the things in life that are stressful to you, and that you know whatever it is in your life that is negative, that's all still going to be there. It's just you're going to be doing it in a smaller body. It's like with the whole I need to be skinny so that someone will date me, or whatever, because who's going to want that. um that's like those issues are still going to be, when that's what's going in our head, that's you're going to lose 20 pounds. And then your brain's going to tell you like, oh, well, that person didn't want to date you, so maybe you should lose 20 more pounds or whatever. When's it ever going to be enough? So like you really have to focus on you know the good in you. And obviously you can still work on your weight loss journey and whatever, but it just shouldn't be like this constant chasing. Like, I will be happy when like, if I lose weight, I'll be happy, because then I'll get this job, or whatever, or then someone will date me, and if I'm dating someone, then I'll be happy. No, you're just going to be the same you with now someone else in your life that you either have to tend to, or is now living with you, or whatever. I mean, um, those are not the things that where it's like you can't collect happiness.
Right. And I think, like, even myself, when I was going through that, I thought, well, if I do this, then this person will stop talking this way about me. Like, they'll get what they want. Like, I'll lose weight, and, this person won't feel this way. And
Haters are going to hate, honey. They're just going to find something different to hate you about. It's okay.
yeah, and it was just, I did though, and I honestly thought, like, oh, this is going to change everything. And it didn't. Like, and I can tell you that, like, firsthand, after going through all that. And it all had to do with, like, the mindset behind it, and knowing that, like, I had to be happy with the person I was looking at. It didn't matter if anyone else was, as long as I was, and I was doing the right things for my body, then I knew things were going to be okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's all that's important is one, being healthy and making sure that we're doing things like, you know, people today are living way longer than humans have ever lived before. And so we really do need to take care of our bodies because, obviously years and years ago when people were dying when they were 40, your body only had to make it, 40 something years or 50 something years. And, but now we're living so much long, double that. And we need to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves so that our joints are able to function and our mind is sharp and all of those things. So yes, it's very important to take care of ourselves, but one of the biggest health reducers in our life is stress. And when we're putting so much emphasis on all these like outside things, like um because we want to look like the model in that commercial or the actress on our favorite show. I mean, you know, it it takes away from our overall health because we're stressed all the time or because we're doing it improperly to get to, our goal weight or whatever. So, um yeah, I can't stress enough like really how important it is just be comfortable with who you are right this second, no matter what. And then if there are some adjustments you want to make, then work at them, but do them from a place of love, not from a place of hate and disgust in yourself. And I think that alone will make a difference on how the journey goes for you. It might be so much easier, to lose it when you're coming from a place of love and caring than harm.
And what I had to do, even like while going through all that, was just like learning to say things out loud that I wasn't used to about myself. Like, like, you're talented, or you're this, or you're beautiful the way you are, or stuff like that. And it wasn't always out loud. Sometimes it would just be in my head or stuff like that. And like after a while, with habits and everything, um, because I was in such negative habits in the past and everything, it took some time to break that. But I noticed as soon as I started saying these things or doing things differently, like my mindset changed, and like I started forming habits. And it wasn't always, you're not good enough, or you're not this, or, then it changed into like, I like myself for who I am.
Right. Um, so that was definitely very hard for me to change like the way I thought of myself. When you're in a relationship where you feel like you can trust a person and whatever, but you don't recognize that they are chipping away by things that they say to you and whatever they're chipping away at your own, you know, self-esteem and the thought process of everything that you think about yourself. um it it really sticks with you for a while, and so it's a lot of work to realize like, oh, that's not true. you know um I am capable of doing things without you, and I am smart, and I am kind, and whatever it is that you're being told. And I think a lot of times when we're in those situations, we don't really recognize that we're in them until it's probably too late. And not too late, but kind of, and um, it's like there is no relationship out there that is worth, taking that sort of pressure and, verbal abuse or whatever. So, if you are finding yourself in a situation where you don't have support from the people around you, you know, um, it's definitely worth taking some evaluation on really what you want in life. And um, it is hard to be brave and it is hard to have the courage to make changes, and change in life is super hard. But a lot of our self image comes from those, like you just said, like those of who we surround ourselves with. And um, you need to make sure that you have people who are rooting for you, not rooting for you to fail. And that is probably the hardest step in any of it. Like if you're in that situation, that's probably the hardest step to take. But you will realize that if you make that change and start, you know, helping yourself, um, choose to have your time spent with people who are your cheerleaders, your life, that will help change your thought process, and then your life will be that much better.
Yeah, it's almost like finding the opposite of like the people you were hanging out with or were around, and like unlearning everything that you did know.
Exactly. And like I said, I mean, the whole self-image thing, especially for young girls or whatever, it starts so young. I mean, think of what Disney princesses look like, I mean, it just and it's not like anyone's telling you, oh, you have to look like that. It's just that's what we're exposed to, and then we create our own story based off of what we're seeing and hearing. And you know then you become teenagers, and especially, like, I'm lucky the internet, really didn't exist when I was a teenager, not like it does now. And you know, so it was a little bit easier for teenage, like in my teenage years, for people to be like, oh, whatever. But now I feel like teenagers are comparing each other to everyone under the sun, because this TikToker is gorgeous and this TikToker does these pictures and this person on Instagram has these kinds of pictures. And um, you know, uh we need to push past that being like our number one goal in life, is getting thousands of likes based off of what we're wearing in a picture.
Yeah, and I actually this morning saw this like picture or like meme, and it was like people online, and it was like a guy and a girl that were like fitness models, and then in the middle it was like people we see regularly, like every day, like totally different. And I think like you just have to like put yourself in that, like if you're looking at something online or whatever and you're like, wow, they look whatever. Okay, like think to yourself, okay, if I go in the grocery store or somewhere else like nearby, is am I going to find somebody that looks even close to that?
Right.
So I think it's also just like a reality thing, like not to say that like people aren't attractive or you couldn't find somebody that was like look like a model or something, but like everybody's so different, and the internet, it only shows you like the highlight reels. And so go out into the real world and see what people are like, what people look like, and that's going to be like your honest view of everything.
Exactly. So, growing up, we moved quite a few times, but in one of the towns that we lived in, I had a friend, and I just remember, so her mom was skinny and always like, she was a person, like my mom always wore nice clothes and high heels growing up. And like, what I mean, I think it was just the times. But so this lady was like that. And my mom does not wear makeup. So like still to this day, like I don't wear a lot of makeup. She doesn't wear a lot of makeup. We both are the kind of people, like we do like our eyes, and like that's about it. We don't, my mom growing up, my mom always told me, like, don't wear a lot of makeup because you'll get a lot of wrinkles. Like, you know, and so I mean, I've just always been that way. Like, I just don't wear a lot. So I do eye makeup. But I just remember staying at this friend's house, and I just remember seeing her mom all the time. Like, wherever we went, like, I would see her mom. And I slept over at her house. And so I woke up the next morning and her mom hadn't gotten dressed or done her makeup yet. And I was like, because she did not, and she didn't look, she didn't even look like the same person. Like, it was like my first, where I was just like, oh my, because I didn't grow up in that environment, like I didn't, like I said, my mom just wasn't like that. And so I just remember I was just like, oh my goodness, like, but for a while there, I was like, Mom, I'm like, are we supposed to be like doing all of that? And it was just funny because, like, it's like once you're exposed to something, you're like, oh, is that how I'm supposed to be doing it? Because, whatever. And so I just thought it was really funny because, like, that was like my first experience with like airbrushing. We were kind of poor growing up or whatever, so it's not like we had magazines laying around our house or anything like that. And I don't even think we had cable TV for a long time, but so I just really didn't see a lot of that kind of stuff. But it was just funny to like have that wake up call, like, whoa, people do a lot of stuff to themselves, to be whatever. So
Well, and it's funny you say that because even when I was going through like my eating disorders and everything, people would say certain things. Or like a friend of mine, I remember said like, I wish I looked like you because you're so thin. But like little did they know like what was going on, behind closed doors.
exactly. Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, I know everyone's always like, oh, well, be kind, but really, truly, like, we put so much judgment out there as humans. Like, I really gained a lot of weight. I had hernia surgery, and man, hernia surgery. So obviously they cut through like all the muscles in your stomach so that they can repair. And it took forever to heal from this. And like, I just remember even a year and a half after having hernia surgery, I would try and like exercise, but like it was like the spots were so tender. It was hard. Well, when you're not doing any sort of exercise, so like Chad and I used to lift weights and stuff together. When you're not doing any sort of exercise at all, like, it's really easy to gain weight and whatever, but it's hard to be motivated when you're not feeling 100%. So it's like this vicious cycle. Like, I don't feel great, so I'm not going to exercise. I'm going to gain weight, and then it's going to, like, I'm not going to feel good. Like, it's a horrible cycle to be in. So I get like we have to kind of take initiative and like, do what we need to do so that we can break that cycle. But um, you know, it's like all of a sudden I was, gaining weight or whatever, and then people were just like, "Oh, wow, you're getting kind of fat," which, yep, I am, but they didn't know, the pain that the surgery had been causing, or what. Because one, I don't complain about that kind of stuff. It's just not. That's not me. So like I still go to work and I still do this and whatever. Like I'm not that person. So of course you wouldn't know that unless you lived with me. Like Chad knew I wasn't exercising a lot because it was taking a really long time to heal. But outside of that, no one really knew. So be gentle with what you, even with what you think about other people, like when you pass them, because you don't know what they're going through. They could have health problems. They could have, we're going to talk about it next week. Losing somebody. If you lose someone, you don't know how you're going to grieve, so maybe they've lost someone and they turned, to not doing much, not being active, not, eating more, whatever, to kind of comfort themselves and find their way through that. Like, you don't know what someone's story is, and passing judgment, the only thing that it's doing is showing your true colors. And like, just, it's not worth it,
Yeah. I just think that, like you said, we don't know a lot about, what goes on behind closed doors or the things people don't say out loud. And yeah, we could think something based on what we see or somebody says, but like until you know the person or ask questions, like, that leaves them, feeling like a certain way too, because, maybe other people view it this way, but like that's not actually what's going on. And then, misunderstandings and rumors and different stuff happen.
Exactly. So, my advice, I think, to anyone who watches this is if you are in a position where you are not happy with your body image, because like ultimately that's kind of where it starts, right? So I would say do the mind work first before you even dieting is bit like I would never recommend like dieting. Dieting, you might lose weight right away, but a lot of times diets are, I mean, at least how I feel, diets are usually something you can't stick with. They're usually pretty restrictive and not feasible for long term. And you're going to lose weight, maybe a whole bunch of it, and you're going to feel great or whatever, but you're going to gain it back. And usually when you diet, that the reason why they call it yo-yo dieting is because you lose a bunch of weight and then you even gain more back than what you were at originally. So I say start with the mind work, and it's a lot of work. But when you look at yourself in the mirror, tell yourself like, that you're proud of yourself, or, that you are smart and beautiful and, um, you know, talented, whatever it is. And you might have to break it down into baby steps. And it might feel so strange talking to yourself like that at first, but, do it when you're in the shower. Cause then you're typically alone and hopefully, well, no, if you're a mom, your kids are barging in there all the time. It doesn't matter. You don't get any time alone, but just do it. And like one of the things that I love doing is taking like a whiteboard marker or eyeliner and writing notes on the mirrors, like in our house. Like I absolutely love doing those kinds of things. So write yourself a note, like, and change it, every day, whatever, something where you're going to see it, or change it once a week or whatever. But just so that you can start to break your old patterns of thinking negatively about yourself, and start focusing on the things you do like about yourself. And from there, it'll grow. And I think once you can get into that mind space, then the other stuff is a little bit easier to do, because it's adding going for walks every day, or like I've given up fried foods. So yes, they're delicious, but they're not good for you. And so but if you do something like that, then it's not so hard, because you're like, now you're in a better frame of mind. You're not thinking like, oh, I'm depriving myself of, this or whatever. And you can still have them as a special treat, like I'm not a sweets person. So like if I'm going to give myself a treat, it's going to be like deep fried pickles or something, but I could care less about the cake. Yeah, I don't want cake. So, you know, I don't know. I just say, I say start with the mind work.
And I agree with you on that, like with the mind, and just starting like with like why you think negatively about yourself or not in such a good light, and like kind of work from there, and like, okay, where do I want to be? And I think for dieting and stuff, same thing. Like, I don't believe in diets. And that's kind of also like how I fell into the whole like eating disorder thing is, dieting. And I think as long as you know certain foods and things, like you're fueling yourself and feeding off things that like just wouldn't be good for you to eat, or those things are good to have. And like some things are going to have small or low calories, and but that doesn't mean that they're healthy for you either. I could go grab a box of aspartame right now, but that doesn't mean it's good for me. Um,
Right.
But like, some of those foods that do have more calories, or avocados or stuff like that, are, natural fats, stuff that's good for your body that it can process. And like, you have to look at it that way too. If it's a relationship with food issue, that, low calories doesn't mean it's healthy and that it's good for you. And some of those minerals and vitamins that are in regular like fruits and vegetables can do wonders for you. So I think,
Absolutely.
yeah, I think that those things, and just um, even another thing, if you don't have time to say them out loud or stuff like that with affirmations, I've done that before where, like, as I'm starting to fall asleep, I'll put on like headphones, and like as I'm sleeping, it's saying these things and into my subconscious. So then it's like I wake up and I'm like, wow, I feel better.
Yeah, listening to them in your car, when you're driving to work or, running to the grocery store, whatever, like you can squeeze them in. Uh, go for a walk and listen to them, whatever, wherever you can fit it in. Absolutely. Um, you know, for me, the hardest thing, it was hard making my initial list of affirmations, like, because I didn't want to just go to the internet and write down generic ones, right? Like, I wanted them to truly be my own. And it was really hard. Like, my list only started at like two or three. And I was just like, wow, it's really hard for me to like come up with something like that I like about myself, or that I can say nice about myself, or, what that I hold as a fact, and it was difficult to write that, but like, as you do it more, whatever, and then you like when you called me about the podcast thing, I was like, oh my goodness, like that was one of the first things I did. I added it to my list, like, somebody wants to work with me, like, and do this. And um there are so many things that, like, if you just pay attention to yourself and your day and those around you, you'll start to find like more of those things that you can be proud of and acknowledge. And um it helps with so many things, not just with your weight loss journey or with thinking, better of yourself and your self-esteem and, your confidence and all that. But when you're doing the mind work or whatever, it can help reduce stress and anxiety. It can help reduce, symptoms of depression. It can build how you communicate with other people. It can, it can do so many different things. It can affect how you perform at your job. Like, if you're feeling better in your own mind, it's gonna shine everywhere you go. And that is truly an amazing feeling. And like I said, I know obviously we're both women and it's easier to talk from that point of view, but even in our own home, I mean, we have like so many different kinds of kids. So we have obviously all the boys. I mean, even Cody, who's 13, they're all way taller than I am. And of the bunch, Zach is probably the shortest. So he's, I don't know, maybe 5'11, 5'10, 5'11. And, he's almost 20. So I'm sure he's not going to grow a heck of a lot more. But he's always been, like athletic build, and, he was a runner, and not really by choice. We have rules in our house, but he ran and he was a wrestler and whatever. And he's the kids are all pretty athletic and whatever, but um I see it even in boys, like, so Jacob's a freshman in high school, and he's very concerned about, like, well, if girls are going to like him or not because of how he looks. And I just see it a lot. So it doesn't just affect females. It affects every single person. And if it's not affecting you, that means that you've already gone through the process of, the mind work, and you're thinking of yourself in a way better light. So no matter how old you are, if you are watching this, doesn't matter who you are, like, just focus on, you know, teaching yourself a new way of thinking. And if you need help with that, reach out to us on our Facebook page. And we have a text line. You can text us if you have questions, if you have comments, if you anything. We can kind of show you how to make that list of affirmations. We can, walk you through just talking to yourself in a better way. You know, when you think of exercising, it doesn't have to be, some crazy routine where you're like, oh, I don't like going to the gym. You don't have to go to the gym. Like, do you go to the gym to work out?
No, I do it all here actually.
Yeah, see, like you totally can do, like you can go for walks. If you don't have weights, you can use cans of vegetables. Like there are so many things that you can do where it doesn't take anything other than what you have at your disposal in your own home. Some of the things that I absolutely love doing and I do stretches. I'm not a huge yoga person, so I'm like, you start to get a little bit inflexible as you get older. But it like just the stretches that I've done, they're not horribly difficult, and if I can do them seriously, anybody can do them. And I think so many people put on there like, well, I'm not in shape, and so I'm not going to be able to do that perfectly. You don't have to do it perfectly. You have to do it right, and you can modify it. So as long as you're not doing something that's going to hurt you, you can totally modify anything it is that's out there so that you can do it to your comfort level. If I think you might even know someone, were you saying that you know someone that also has like I don't know if it's a podcast or whatever, but where they do fitness?
I know I know a couple of people that have fitness channels on YouTube.
Oh yeah. See, so like we can point you in the direction of working with people. A friend of mine, Robin, she is a Beachbody person. I could totally, if you want to go that direction, I could totally get you hooked up with her. And there are so many things that you can do. So don't feel like, I don't know where to start, so I'm not going to do anything at all. Like I said, reach out to us and we will gladly help get you, on a path that you can take, so that you can start feeling better about yourself. Life is too short to be in this headspace where we're creating our own nightmare, like let's work on doing things that help us live the absolute best life that we can live.
And I'm glad you brought that up about, like knowing where to start or like, being kind of lost in the beginning of like, where do I even start with my journey? And like the stretching and different stuff. It reminded me of Diamond Dallas Page's yoga. I was actually watching, like, I'll just get into these videos on YouTube, like just watching them with different people's journeys, because there was this guy and he had like crutches and everything and like canes and different things to help him move around, and he was in severe pain, overweight, like all these things, and even stretching was hard in the beginning for him, and you just see him at the end and it's a totally different person. So even if you don't know where to start or what you want to do necessarily, even watching videos like that like helps get your mind in the right place to be like, okay, like I think I can do this.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the thing is, like, I think most of the time when we, well, I'll just use my friend Robin as an example. She was like, I want you to come be on my team. Like, and I'm like, I am not I don't even really like to exercise. I like, what am I going to teach anybody? And she's like, no. She was like, that's the thing. Like everyone has this like image in their head that you have to be like this stick figure, super fit, 6-pack person to be an inspiration to other people in the fitness world. But you don't, you just have to do something. And I was like, what? No, that's not true. But, then when you get out there, it's way more. So this is so gonna like show my age. Richard Simmons was like the hit thing when I was growing up, right? I mean, he just did Sweat into the Oldies. I mean, they just did some dancing to awesome music. Like, that's it. Like, do that, like, you don't have to, you don't have to have like all this equipment and, spend lots of money or whatever. Like, just turn on some music and dance in your kitchen. Like, go for it.
Or even just, start a TikTok to, watch your progress on something like you dancing or I don't know, just anything. And it also holds you accountable and like know that people are cheering you on or people are, wanting to see you progress. And, that in itself could be a big benefit.
Absolutely. And the other thing is just think if you're doing it, there are other people who, no matter what you think, you probably are thinking like, oh my goodness, I'm alone. You're not. There are other people out there in the world who are facing the same exact thing or at least similar. And you can be a complete inspiration to somebody else who thinks like, I'm never going to be able to do this, or I'm always going to be this way. And one of the rules in our household is you never get to use the words never and always. So if you can't use them with other people, do not use them with yourself. So the words never and always are lies. You're not, it's not true. You're not always going to be something. You're never going to accomplish it. That's not true. Like, you might need to change something to get, but so stop using the words never and always in your talk to yourself and in your thought process. Maybe that's your first step. Eliminate those two words and see what kind of difference that makes.
I also think another one to add to that would be can't. When you're like, I can't do this, or maybe I don't know how to go about this, but like, unless you try, you don't know if you can or can't.
Yes. And I think it's super great because like, with that, you can do anything for 30 seconds, start with 30 seconds, then increase it. You can do, whatever, squats for 30 seconds. You can do, it doesn't have to be, okay, I haven't exercised in 20 years and now today I'm going to get up and I'm going to work out for an hour. Don't do that because you're going to hurt and then you're not going to do it again. And then you're going to feel like the whole, I can't, I always, I never, whatever. Don't do that to yourself. So it's always there we go. I used it. It's a good thing to say, what can I do for 30 seconds? What can I do for 60 seconds? I can do anything for 30 seconds. I can do anything for 60 seconds. And start there.
And I think starting with the hard part is like what will help too. And if it's a certain exercise that's hardest, start with that first. So then it only gets easier with the ones that you do know. Or, if it's a time of day, like instead of waiting till like after work and the rest of the course of the day when you don't know how you're going to be feeling and, you get those moments of, do I want to work out? Instead, like just go, wake up if you can and try to do something, like even if it's small. And then this way you feel at the end of the day like, wow, I still worked out. Even if it wasn't for a long time, I did it.
Exactly. One of the things I did for a really long time, I've stopped doing them recently. I don't know. I think I did something to my knee, but probably from doing squats. But one of the things I always used to incorporate in my day is when I took a shower, I would do squats in the shower. Because so you wash your hair and you're waiting for a few minutes or whatever, or a minute. Or especially because my hair is super thick. And so I condition all the time. So while I'm waiting for my conditioner to do its thing, I would do a handful of squats in the shower. You can find time to build in something. If you work a lot and you're on your lunch break, take the stairs from your office down to go to lunch. Take the stairs back up to your office after you eat lunch. Go for a walk during your lunch. Whatever. There are things that we can do to incorporate movement. If you sit at a desk all the time, there are things that you can be doing. You're actually sitting at your desk, and just do little things, and you'll start to notice, differences in that. But again, like you said, get up a tiny bit earlier. If you're one of those people that you need to be at work, so for the longest time, I had to be at work by 5 a.m., which means I had to get up at 4:30 or whatever. And, then I worked all day and I came home, and then you do the kid stuff, and I would go to their sports activities, and I would, do whatever. And when I came home, I was always like, there's no way I want to exercise right now. But I would try to incorporate it in like little things. Like if I was at my kids' basketball game and it's their halftime, I'll go walk around, and do some laps in whatever school or outside of the school or whatever while I'm waiting. Or if it was an outside game, like some of my kids played football, I wouldn't sit in the bleachers. I would stand, and, just getting some movement in my day, it helped me a lot.
Yeah, I think those little habits, they, go further than you expect. And, don't start off with like an hour of doing this or trying to lift, 200 pounds at one time. Like, start small and kind of work up, every day or every few days, up to a higher amount or for longer, and you'll see the progress come.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's everybody, but I feel so much better when I do some sort of activity in my day. I feel mentally just stronger. I have more energy. Like when I do my stretches and stuff like that, I don't have back pain or hip pain or, whatever might be, just from like, I always said like, oh, I'm never going to have like those same struggles or whatever. And then all of a sudden you turn 30 and you're like, man, I wake up and I'm sore. And then you turn 35 and you're like, oh my goodness, like I went to bed fine. I wake up and I'm injured. And then you turn 40, you're like, does anything not hurt? Like what? It was like, I didn't even do anything. Like, why am I hurting? But like, even just the stretches help like alleviate some of those natural like things from aging and whatever. And when you do that, you're like, oh my goodness, this is so worth it, because like I physically feel better, and then that helps you mentally feel better, and you really do get more energy. Like as tired as you might be thinking like, oh, I just don't want to do it because I'm tired, you'll enjoy it because you really start to get peppy and have that like zest again, and it's totally worth it.
I agree. And just whatever that is, like, little things and walking and stretching and, whatever, watch a dance video or something on YouTube, like whatever, just move and, keep moving.
Absolutely. So from us, again, like you're not alone. I'm still on this journey. It's a continuing journey. But it really is worth the hard work that goes into loving yourself. And again, there's a difference between loving yourself and being narcissistic. So don't feel like you're not allowed to love yourself. It's very important actually to actually love yourself. So put in the hard work and start, and reach out to us, and start a small group so that you can be supportive to other people that that might be wanting to do it. With everything like online, you have the ability to talk to people and be like, hey, let's just check in with each other regularly to help motivate each other, whatever it might be. but holding yourself accountable is very important. And, you know, like I said, doing the work is hard, but it's worth it in the long run. So
And
I
we'll try
wish,
to
sorry.
So we'll try to put like either links or different topics we might have talked about in here, or resources for anybody that is starting that journey or in the middle of that, just so there's some help for you out there.
Absolutely. So, thank you so much for joining us again today. We really love having you guys with us. So, um, we saw like we have 41. Is it 41?
I think it went up from when, yeah, I want to say it's like 45 now.
That is so awesome. So keep liking us, keep sharing us with people that you know. We love having you go out to our website. We get like notifications, so it's really cool to see when different people from all over the place, like other countries and different states and whatever, like actually log in. It's super exciting to see that happen. So check out our website, which is growaheadpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We are actually working on starting a Twitter account. So, yeah, you'll be able to catch us on there soon. We are on SoundCloud. Yeah, so keep following us. If you have topic ideas or anything that you would like us to cover, we do these every week. Shoot us an email at growaheadpodcast@gmail.com, or like I said, we have the text line. You can send it there. You can find that number on Facebook. Yeah, so reach out to us because we would love to hear from you. And if we can incorporate some of the topic ideas that you guys want to hear about, we would love to do that too.
Alrighty, guys. That's gonna wrap up episode 6 with Nicole and myself. But have courage to grow through life and not just go through life.
Have a wonderful week, and we will see you guys next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.